Hey, this is Jonesy from Jonester TV, bringing you the belated review for Season 4, Episode 15 of Vikings, entitled All of His Angels. And so, this is the episode we've sort of been waiting for a long time. We've known about Ragnar's fate. If for those who have researched it historically, we've known throughout the series that Ragnar was eventually going to die. But, for a lot of us fans, this episode still carried weight. It still, you know, was an emotional episode because we're losing, one of the best actors we've had on the show, Travis Fimmel, and we're losing one of the best characters that's been on television for the last few years, Ragnar Lothbrok. And so this episode carried a lot of weight, and it could have gone multiple different directions, but I really did like the directions they took this episode. So basically, in this episode, Ragnar, we get to see him have a scene with Ivar as he asks Egbert if he can talk to Ivar in private, and we figure out that Ragnar tells Ivar that Egbert is just as much to blame as Aelle, which is important because we know Ragnar had already promised Egbert that he wouldn't tell Ivar that it was his fault equally. So we get this betrayal, and it's very nice, and it's very Lothbrok idea, that he'd go behind Eckberg's back and basically tell his son to tell his people that, to get revenge on Eckberg just as much as they're going to get revenge on Aelle. Um, there's a brief exchange between Alfred, Athelstan's son, of course, who's going to become Alfred the Great later on in the series, and Ivar, and it's a very cool scene just seeing them sort of play chess because we figure out later on, if you look through the historical record, that Ivar eventually, of course, becomes this little leader of the great heathen army and a great strategist, but by the same token, Alfred, eventually is the king, becomes king of England, and he basically sends the Vikings packing because he's a great strategist. So it's cool to see that sort of those powerful scenes and the foreshadowing that they used this episode to show them. And it was nice that they were in this episode too because, this episode we're losing Ragnar, who's sort of been the focus of the show, but I'm seeing in the future it's probably going to be about Ivar and eventually, even Alfred. So it was cool to see that exchange and sort of that nod to the future. But this was definitely a Ragnar episode. Ragnar gives Athelstan's cross to Alfred before he leaves, and there's this powerful scene, sort of this exchange of power. And of course, Alfred said he'll never forget Ragnar, and it was a very important scene. I'm sure that'll carry weight later on. But moving past Alfred, we get to see Ragnar have a brief conversation with the seer. Of course, he's just imagining it because the seer's not actually there, but he tells him that he's transcended the gods, that he's sort of gone beyond their decided fate, and he's hammered out his own fate. He came here to England to die so that he could uh, sort of get his sons riled up and make his sons into legends like he was. And all the gods apparently, according to the seer, had destined Ragnar for failure, but uh, even in Ragnar's death, he was destined for greatness, which is awesome to see. So those are some powerful scenes, and Travis Fimmel definitely sold them. The first night with King Aelle's men, there's these terrible torture scenes as they are prodding his feet with their spears and using their torches to try to burn his feet. And you really felt bad for Ragnar. Even though he's Ragnar, he can take that kind of stuff. It's terrible to see those torture scenes. But the next day, Aelle just tortures him. He beats him, has all his men beat him, and he's trying to get Ragnar to apologize for what he did. But Ragnar, of course, is saying does not say anything, and he even cuts a cross into his face, and he still doesn't budge. And it's just a testament to how cool character and how cool of person Ragnar is at this point, because he won't even you can beat him, you can cut his face, you can torture him every night, but he won't admit that he is wrong, and it really is a testament to his character. Travis Fimmel sold Ragnar's toughness in this episode, and eventually as he's hanging and they're about to throw him in the pit of snakes like we've been waiting to see, he gives this heroic speech about Valhalla. And then they drop him in the pit and he dies with all these snakes biting him. And it was very hard to watch, but in a way, I'm glad they did Ragnar justice in his death. They showed him strongest even in his weakest moment, and I love Travis Fimmel's performance, especially with that speech about Valhalla before he died. It was simply amazing. Some notes is, Egbert traveled to go see Ragnar's demise, which is kind of ironic that he's calling him his friend whenever Ragnar betrayed him in this episode. And the allusions to Ragnar's past in this episode were phenomenal, seeing the flashbacks of Athelstan on the farm, and it shows how much Ragnar's developed as a character throughout the series, and I love that they put those in this episode. So, for my final score, I'm taking into account, Ragnar defying the gods in death, which was phenomenal. Ivar and Alfred's exchange, which was fantastic. The allusions to the past that we saw in the flashbacks and just throughout the episode as they passed, Athelstan's, they're the monastery where he first met Athelstan, and Travis Fimmel's performance. If you include all of that, this is one of the best episodes of Vikings ever, if not the best episode of Vikings ever, because Travis Fimmel really gave. He was center stage this episode since it was his last episode as Ragnar Lothbrok, and he just killed it as Ragnar. No pun intended. But this episode, All His Angels, season 4, episode 15 of Vikings, I'd have to give it a 9.8 out of 10. So do you agree with that score? Do you think this episode was worse than me, or did you like it just as much as I did? Remember to comment below. And remember to like and subscribe for more. This has been Jonesy from Jones TV, signing off.